started out at UTD, changed majors a handful of times, just like the typical undergrad. I think I started computer science just because my dad was a computer programmer. Tried to find my way through the, through undergrad, and eventually came to physics, which is what I graduated in. From UTD, I gained an interest in international law and sort of international relations and sort of that thing. I remember sitting in the UTD computer lab, kind of spending time just researching, diplomatic relations and things like the United Nations. I got a pretty keen interest in that at the time. And keep in mind, I was 19 or 20 at that time. So, as you're growing up, you sort of explore these different areas. And decided that I'd want to go to law school as a way to maybe do something in that. So international law was actually the initial reason why I went to law school. In order to pay off the crushing debt burden, that you come out of law school with, I decided to go into something maybe a little bit more lucrative, and in that case it was patent law. So patent law is what I ended up pursuing. And even that was not necessarily a straight path, because after I graduated from law school, I went to Amsterdam to get my LLM in international law. So I lived there for a year. Again, exploring that interest. So I guess looking back at that time, I must not have been completely set on patent law if I went out to Amsterdam. I don't think I was ready to enter the workforce for whatever reason. At that time, I was 24 years old. So, I was still kind of wanting to explore some stuff before I decided to spend the next 50 years of my life doing one thing. So went out to Amsterdam, came back, then the financial reality set in. The experiences in law were, at times exciting, but I think at some point you begin to say, okay, what's the logical conclusion of what I'm doing? I'm doing this now, I've done it for 7 years or whatever, but I've still got another 30 ahead of me. What's that going to lead to? Same old thing? What's the final conclusion? So I think you have to kind of ask yourself, do I like that final conclusion? And if not, what can I change about that? Me and Catherine, my wife, is also a patent attorney, and at the time we were both kind of experiencing that sort of disillusionment with patent law. She had practiced longer than I had, and we were just ready to try something new. The timing worked out perfectly. And for that reason, we decided to just go ahead and pull the trigger, which wasn't easy, but we did. With craft and growler, you have the option of either coming in and buying those beers in a bar setting, or you can take them to go. What makes us a little bit different from the average bar is that we offer beer to go in what's called a growler, which is what one of these things are right here. And you can fill them up, take them home with you. Craft and Growler uses a proprietary filling system for filling our growlers, and we decided to get a patent on it because it was something that was new, we believe unique, and also a great fit with our past. So we were able, we went ahead and applied for that. So that was a definite skill that came in handy, given that a typical patent costs, a patent application costs over $5,000. We were able to just do that ourselves. So that was one, but there's other ways too. I wouldn't say just the obvious patent law connection there. One of them is running a business. I had my own law firm before I opened this place. So in fact, that is probably a big part of the story. I mean, I worked for a law firm at the beginning to gain experience, but at some point in the journey, I realized I'm more of an entrepreneurial type. I like to do things kind of my own way. So started up Afghani law firm in 2009. Patent law was always very, very highly technical, at all times, pen to paper, whatever, always thinking about abstractions. This is a much more real business, and things are tangible here. It's like there's people involved, there's products involved, there's things you're selling, and people either come back or they don't. It's just a lot simpler in that sense, which is a good thing. So we've got to, be ready to go. We have to have staff in place, opened up, ready for customers by 2 every single day, except we're closed on Mondays. So that lends a sort of structure. There's a structure to that because every day we know what's going to happen. Mainly for me, so as the business owner, we try to look at the high level My wife handles most of the accounting and the financial side of things, so she, you know, she handles all the receipts, taxes, and things like that. Something I don't do so much of, she's very good at. But that is certainly something that you'd have to at least delegate or do yourself if you were going to have a business like this. If you don't keep track of that, the downfall of a lot of bars I've seen is just failure to keep track of financials and stuff, and not pay. I mean, there's some bars that get closed for not paying their taxes, forget to pay a bill, things like that. So and then on the other side, getting the beers you want. That's all comes down to relationships. There's a lot of politics involved with rare beers and things like that. So you just have to know where to push and where to take some, and kind of balance it out to get the beers you want. So we started this because we had a vision, and we want that to be embodied in the place we opened. I love the bars. I love coming to comfortable bars, but I just want to make sure our place is that. There are a lot of societal, parental pressures to do a certain thing in life, a lot of self-pressure to maybe achieve a certain salary or a certain benefit, work with a certain company, or just have a certain title like lawyer, doctor, etc. Those are the kinds of things people a lot of times shoot for when they're in college. And I would just say, well, first of all, you never know till you do it. So maybe it is one of those hard lessons that has to be learned in life. And in my case, isn't necessarily the one that's always going to hold true. I mean, there's people who are lawyers who generally enjoy being a lawyer, and people who you just have to find the right fit. And I think that's what it comes down to. And how do you find the right fit without trying or doing something? So I'd say explore your interest, try it. Try to be honest with yourself when you're doing them as to whether or not you like them. Because you really have to see what's going on day to day in order to understand whether you like that occupation or not. So one piece of advice would be to try different things. You're still young when you're an undergrad, generally speaking, and so you have the luxury of, maybe not hitting the bullseye the first time. You have a little bit of correction space there. So you can do that, and I'd say do it. So those are important. Yeah, try to find yourself and just take some risks in doing it. Don't try to just conform to what you're supposed to be or whatnot. I mean, if money's your worry, what good is money if you don't enjoy what you're doing and you're going to quit it and be lackluster in any way because you're trying to escape your job all the time? I mean, do what you love or do something that you're passionate about, and that I think will achieve more success in the long run and lead to a more balanced life as you mature into your career and stuff.